let's talk about discovery sessions when you're talking to your subject matter experts, your clients, and you're going through creating a process model. So you're doing the work that creates this diagram, and you create some objects and you find some data attributes as you go along. And eventually you're going to get to the business rules table. So let's say in the middle of that, somebody says, I need to have the date that we received the request from the deputy department. And as an analyst, you're saying, I have no idea what that means. Now, I could say, well, to the subject matter expert, I could say, well, why do you need that? But you can't ask why. You have to banish that word from your vocabulary. Because if you ask why someone needs something, many people think that you're asking for justification or rationalization, and that's not what we do as an analyst. What you can do, however, is to see if there's a hidden event. When somebody says, I need to know the date of the request by the deputy department, you have to find out what they're really saying. So we ask instead inclusion or exclusion questions about that data item. So we can then ask this question. Look, if we know about the date of the request by the deputy department, what will that enable us to do that we could not do if we didn't know? Now, some people will have no trouble with that question, but other people will say, I missed that one, because they see things in a different way. So you could ask it as an exclusion question instead. If we don't know about the date of the request by the deputy department, what will it prevent us from doing that we have to be able to do? You can ask either of those questions, or even both of those questions, from the subject of the subject matter expert who said, I need that data. When somebody says they need certain data, we have to understand what's behind that. And sometimes what they're thinking could be very different from what we might be thinking. So we can ask these questions, the exclusion, the inclusion question about the data attribute, or the exclusion test. The inclusion meaning that if we've got this data, what will that enable us to do? The exclusion question is, if we don't have that data, if we don't get that data, what will that prevent us from doing? And the answer you get could very likely identify a new event. So you have to listen very, very carefully to what they say. This is a powerful, powerful question that I ask all the time of my subject matter expert, my clients, as I work with them. The other side of this, let's look at an object. Sometimes subject matter experts bring up what you and I would call an object. Let's look over here just for a moment. Salesperson. As we're working through this, somebody might say, but I need to know about the salesperson here who serves the customer. Well, again, we could say, well, why do you need to know about the salesperson? And again, that why question is a very difficult one, because we're not really asking to rationalize or justify, but that's what it sounds like sometimes. So instead of saying, why do you need the salesperson? We can ask instead the question of an inclusion question or an exclusion type of question. And that is, if we know about the salesperson who served the customer, what will that enable us to do that we have to be able to do? Or from the other perspective, coming at it from the other side, if we don't know who the salesperson is who served the customer, what would it prevent us from doing that we have to be able to do? And the subject matter expert might say, well, we need to know the salesperson because we have to be able to figure out the commissions. So if we go over here again, we can then add salesperson as an object if it wasn't there to start with. And we can say, so one of the things that we need to deal with is commissions for salespersons. And they'd say, well, yeah. So I would ask about that event. It's time to pay a commission to a salesperson. I would ask, is that something that we have to keep track of in this project that salespeople get commissions? And if the answer is no, then we put it in our out of scope list. We've identified something specific that's out of scope. But if the answer is yes, we have to keep track of salespeople and their commissions. Then we say, fine, and we add that to our event list. If it's not already there, if it's already there, we can say, okay, we've got that one. And remember that this list has to be very visible when you're working with your subject matter experts, because they can then see what you hear. If it's not already there, we just add it to the list. We don't spend time discussing commissions and salespeople who get the commissions. We just put it on our list so as we can stay focused on what we're working on and move forward. So this, again, may identify a brand new event. The other side of it, of course, is reports. Now, how often do you have clients or subject matter experts saying to you, I need a report of the widget sales in the Northwest region? I mean, here we are well into the 21st century, and we have wonderful technology to work with, and we still have people asking for all kinds of reports. Well, my thinking is that when they say a report, they don't necessarily mean that piece of paper. They just mean that information, regardless of how they get it. The other thing is when somebody says, I need a report of the widget sales in the Northwest region, I think sometimes they're thinking of a solution that they've created in their own head. They look at the systems they have now, they look at the information that's missing, and they say, gosh, if I had a report of this information, that would solve my problem. So what they've done is they have created a technology. They've decided on a solution and implementation, and they tell us it's a report. And what we should do is just say, I understand, and disregard the fact that they think it's a report, but we'll call it that. And what we need to do is, of course, apply the inclusion or exclusion tests for the report. So we can say, look, so if we have or know about the widget sales in the Northwest region, what does that enable us to do that we have to be able to do? Or, from the other side, if we don't know about the sales of widgets in the Northwest region, what would it prevent us from doing that we must be able to do or to know? And the answer could be a brand new event, or it's a wonderful re-engineering opportunity, an immediate opportunity for improvement that we want to be able to keep track of. It's either an event or an opportunity to re-engineer. If it's not an event, it still is a report, then it's a re-engineering opportunity. So this is pretty straightforward stuff. People ask for data, they ask for blocks of data or an object, if you like, and they certainly ask for reports. So I've seen projects where people talk about 20, 30, 40, 50 reports. And if, as an analyst, we simply say, and just regurgitate that as a request, and we have nothing but reports on our list, we're not really doing analysis at that point. What we're doing is just saying yes and regurgitating what they've said. We as analysts have to know what it's all about and identify the events, the situations, the circumstances that we're dealing with, so as we can do a really, really good job of dealing with those requests, not just regurgitating what they've said. So bear that in mind as you work on your project. You'll find it works extremely well.